Head coach Antonio Pierce has quickly brought in his culture with the Las Vegas Raiders. The physicality, violence, and ill intent are only parts of it. Another big part of it is grinding and competing for everything you get. Pierce himself went from undrafted free agent to leader of a Super Bowl winning defense like that. And as head coach of the Raiders last year, he found some grinders he can add to Maxx, Crosby, Davante Adams, and Colton Miller. They all have stories that show they're grinders, and Pierce has given them the opportunity to write more. And since the season ended, Pierce's grinders have been at the facility hard at work trying to continue to write their great stories. If they can, the Raiders will be in good shape. There are 5 in particular I want to talk about now. The defense was a big part of why the Raiders did so much better the second half of last season, and the pass rush was the main reason for that. Oh, and the main reason why the pass rush got better is edge rusher Malcolm Coons. The Raiders got Coons in the 3rd round of the 2021 NFL Draft when former head coach John Gruden and GM Mike Mayock were here. He became an afterthought when the Josh McDaniels-Dave Ziegler regime replaced him in 2022. They brought in Chandler Jones in free agency in 2022 and drafted Tyree Wilson in round 1 of 2023. Jones flew over the cuckoo's nest in 2023, and instead of going to Coons, McDaniels went with Wilson, who was woefully out of shape because of an injury. So Coons rode behind the first half of the season. When Pierce took over, he gave Coons an opportunity to play, and he sacked the quarterback 8 times in the last 9 games. That's balling right there. How many sacks would he have had if he played the whole season? He was good against the run, too. And they say he's been working hard with Maxx Crosby and making strides this offseason. This story makes me think Pierce is some kind of troubled football player whisperer. He coached Jack Jones in high school into a 5-star recruit, and Jones turned that into a scholarship at USC. However, that didn't last long after he had academic issues and an incident where he allegedly broke into a Panda Express in the wee hours. He then caught back up with Pierce, who was then at Arizona State, and balled. That led to the New England Patriots taking him in round 4 in 2022. He got caught with guns at an airport and violated the team's curfew in his time there, so they cut him in 2023. Pierce got the interim job not too long after that and somehow convinced the Raiders he can keep him in line. So the Raiders got Jones in week 11 and he balled for the rest of the season. He gave up a completion percentage of 54.5% with no touchdowns and 2 interceptions, both returned for touchdowns. He has more touchdowns than touchdowns given up for that stretch in that whole season. Have the Raiders finally found another great corner? We'll see. Robert Spillane has a hell of a story going as well. The linebacker went to the Tennessee Titans undrafted in 2018 and didn't last that long. Then he went to the Pittsburgh Steelers and lasted 4 years. The Steelers wanted to keep him, but Pierce identified him as a player he wanted, and Ziegler, the GM at the time, made it happen. Spillane was known to be a tough, physical, downhill thumper, which I'm sure Pierce liked. That's the kind of player he can set up his violent culture with. Spillane wasn't known to be the best of coverage linebackers, but Pierce saw something in him that made him believe that he can improve that, and he did. Spillane's pass coverage grade with Pro Football Focus went up 19 points last year. That's a pretty big jump, especially for a guy that's not going from his rookie year to his second year. Spillane gave up catches on 77.6% of the targets that came his way, with 2 touchdowns and a career-high 3 interceptions. You're really doing something when you have more interceptions than touchdowns given up in coverage, especially if you're a linebacker. Here's another guy no one gave anything to. How about the Air Munford story? If he would have come out in 2021, he would have been drafted in the 1st round. However, he didn't because he promised his grandmother that he would graduate from college first. When he went back to Ohio State, they were deep at tackle but thin at guard, so he volunteered to move to guard. He admirably put the team first, but unfortunately he didn't adapt to guard quickly enough, so he had a bad year. That's how the Raiders were able to steal him in the 7th round of the 2022 NFL Draft. In year 1, he split time with Jermaine Illuminor at right tackle, with Illuminor finally winning the position well into the season. Then in year 2, the competition with Illuminor continued. I thought he outplayed Illuminor early on, but Illuminor still got the lion's share of the snaps early on. When Pierce first took over in week 9, Munford was injured. He was injured in weeks 12 and 18 too, but other than that, he started the rest of the season. He played well in 4 starts at left tackle for injured Colton Miller. New GM Tom Telesco likes him too, so he's got to watch at right tackle. Aiden OConnell was Pierce's big decision when he took over last year. When I say big decision, I don't mean hard decision. Starter Jimmy Garoppolo and backup Brian Hoyer were horrible. I mean big decision because it's such an important decision and it turned the season around. Starters get all the reps, backups get very little reps, and the 3rd stringer gets no reps. He runs the other team's plays on the scout team. Going from third stringer to starter is a big deal. It wasn't as big a deal to O'Connell though, because he started his journey as an 8th string walk-on at Purdue and eventually became the starter. But as a Raiders starter, he did pretty well for himself, using bits and pieces of McDaniel's playbook. More importantly, he did exactly what was asked of him and improved as the season went on. The last 4 games of the season, O'Connell completed 59% of his passes for 854 yards, 8 touchdowns, and no interceptions. According to Hondo Carpenter, he's been working hard on his mobility since the season ended. If he was a first-round quarterback, Raider Nation would be hyping him up. Let me give some honorable mention to safety Isaiah Palal. He came in as an undrafted free agent in 2022, and as I predicted, he made the team. He's looked good in spots, but I didn't include him because his snaps were down at the end of last season. But Coons, Spillane, Jones, Mumford, and O'Connell all appear to be ready to add to their stories. They're a big part of that old Raider culture Pierce is bringing back too. I know Davis loved height, weight, and speed, but he also loved indomitable will to win. If you have it, you're a Raider. Props to Pierce for bringing that old Raider culture back. Thank you for watching. See you next time.